What's going on, everyone? So, Giannis once again doubled down on the potential departure from the Milwaukee Bucks. He said, I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner. If there is a better situation for me to win the Larry O'Brien, I have to take that better situation. So, of course, this has sparked, once again, more expectations of Giannis potentially leaving. And I just, at this current moment, think it's going to happen because I don't know how Milwaukee gets out of the situation that they're in. Now, in Milwaukee's defense, what were they supposed to do this offseason? Right? There wasn't like a bunch of marquee free agents that they could have went and got. But like now Giannis is going to have at least another 2 years where his second best player he has ever played with is Chris Middleton. Like, who is the best player Giannis have ever played with? It's Middleton, right? Like, and they couldn't even beat Miami, which credit Miami, but there is no reason that even with Giannis getting hurt, that they should have gotten beat the way that they got beat. They're older, right? They don't really seem to have a clear direction. They're tied into all their guys. And Giannis has got to be looking at this as like, I've had the same roster for 5 years and we've won one NBA championship. Yes, every year we are in the conversation. Every year we are one of the better teams, but it's because of me. They can't even win when I'm not on the court, right? Like, and that's got to be a level of frustration. And Giannis has talked about, I don't want to be on the same organization for 20 years and only win one NBA championship. He wants to win championships. And there are a lot of destinations for him. I mean, you have the big market teams like the Lakers, which we're going to dive into in a moment. The New York Knicks, right? Even if he doesn't want a big market team, he has places that he could go, like, say, Oklahoma City with SGA. And especially if he's a free agent, you don't have to trade for him. That means you'd have SGA and Chet, plus all that youth that they could use to go and trade and go get another piece. And they have like a million draft picks. Or you could go to San Antonio and be coached by Greg Popovich and play alongside Victor Wembanyama. And they'd have a ton of cap space and young talent that they could trade and draft picks and all that stuff. Like, there are so many destinations for Giannis if he was to leave. I mean, there is no shortage. And the sad thing is, almost every team that he would go to would have a better player alongside him than what he's had with Milwaukee. If he goes to the Knicks, he'd have Jalen Brunson plus whoever else is still there, right? Maybe he has Julius Randle. Maybe he has, RJ Barrett. Maybe he has these guys, right? If he goes to the Lakers, him and Anthony Davis would be by far the best player he's ever played with. If he goes to the Thunder, again, SGA. If he goes to the Spurs, he has Victor Wembanyama. If he goes to the Bulls and he has Zach LaVine, right? Like, it's just, there's so many places that he could go and have that other companion where it's not solely on him whether this team wins or loses. And he would just be in such a better situation. I think ultimately, though, the Lakers are probably the biggest threat. Now, obviously the Knicks, stuff like that, you have other big threats, but the Lakers could put together a pretty good package if they needed to go trade for him. But his contract lines up perfectly when the Lakers would have more than enough money to go sign him and still have all their players. LeBron's money falls off the books, D'Lo's money falls off the books, and then the cap spike is supposed to go up that year. Like, it's supposed to significantly go up. So they could probably sign Giannis outright. And Giannis, you don't think he's looking at it and going, man, it'd be me and Anthony Davis. We'd be the best front court in the entire league. We'd also be the best defensive team in the entire league. I mean, me, Vando, and Anthony Davis, good luck scoring on the three of us, right? And on top of that, I'd have Rui Hachimura. I'd have Austin Reeves, Max Christie if he emerges. If they keep, Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, like the young guys, I'd have a good young core. You'd be probably the best team in the league for the next 5 years. And I could probably win multiple championships, not just one. And I also have a relationship with the head coach and Darvin Ham, who I love and adore, and I would be able to reunite with him. And the Lakers, I want to say right now, fully expect the Lakers to position themselves for Giannis. They did the exact same thing for Kawhi Leonard. They missed out on Kawhi Leonard, but they positioned themselves for Kawhi. And they even, when the time came, waited patiently for Kawhi and missed out on a bunch of free agents thinking that they were going to get Kawhi. And ultimately they didn't, but they were going to. Kawhi would have been a Laker if the Clippers didn't trade for Paul George. Right? Because that was the whole thing, right? Like, I'll go to you, but you need to trade for Paul George. If you don't get Paul George, I'm signing with the Lakers. And they were able to figure it out and get Paul George, right? But if Giannis looks at this and goes, hey, I can go to Lakers. I get to go with Darvin Ham. I get to play alongside Anthony Davis. Maybe LeBron sticks around because he's got Giannis, right? Him, especially if he's still playing at a high level, you got him, Giannis, and Anthony Davis. Like, you're not beating them. You're not. like the only thing that would stop them would be injury. And if they're healthy, you're not beating that team. You're not beating LeBron, Giannis, Anthony Davis, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent. You just, like, you're not. Like, and he knows that. On top of that, he'd go to the Lakers. He would be in one of the biggest brands in all of sports. His brand himself personally would skyrocket. He'd make more money than he's ever made in his entire life or dreamed of, with all the brand deals and endorsements and connections and all of that jazz. So he'd be in a winning environment, a big market, making a ton of money. Like, there's not a better situation that he'd be in great weather, right? Like, everything that he could ever want would be with the Lakers. And he'd be part of a great historic history. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar went to the Lakers. History repeats itself. We've seen that happen. Dwight went to the Lakers. And we've seen history tends to repeat itself at some point. The last great big that Milwaukee had was Kareem, and he ultimately went to Lakers. Giannis could very well be the same thing. And you don't think the people in his circle would be pushing for him to go to Lakers? You don't think that he, to some level, has interest in the Lakers? It would be an absolute no-brainer. If the Lakers could sign him outright, that would be an absolute no-brainer. He would have the best team in the league for the next 5 years throughout his new contract. He would have more than enough depth. If at any point something's not working, the Lakers would have tons of tradable assets, right? Like, you could trade Rui, you could trade Vando. If they end up keeping Wood, you could trade Wood. Like, if you push came to shove, you could even trade Austin Reeves if you had to, right? If it means winning an NBA championship, right? Like, if you could go take, Reeves, Rui, and Vando and go get, 2 other complementary pieces after you've already won a chip or two and go, like, Giannis would be in the best situation. I mean, if he really wants to go to a place that gives him a better opportunity to win, it would be the Lakers. I'm not saying the Lakers aren't the only team that could do that. There are other teams that could do that. But there were other teams that could do that for LeBron. But LeBron knew what it could do for his brand, what it could do for his post-basketball career. That's why a lot of these superstars, they end up coming in the back end of their careers because they know, like, LA is the place to go to set myself up for the last of my career, but also post-career. And Giannis is very likely going to be thinking the same thing. The Lakers are going to be doing everything they can to entice him to do that. And on top of that, they will be in a position to do so. So, I mean, literally everything that the Lakers could ask for would all be at their disposal to line up the red carpet to go and get Giannis. They would have the team, they would have the history, they would have the market. If Giannis was ever going to have a checklist of all the things he'd be looking for in an organization, The Lakers are that. Oh, and on top of that, he knows the head coach and is familiar with the head coach. The Lakers have a structure, organization. Their brand transcends everything. His brand would elevate. Like, it would be the best destination for him if he wanted both. If he wanted a big market and to win a lot of basketball games. Anthony Davis alone is the best player by far that Giannis could ever play with. Right? Like, and unless he goes and plays with, like, I don't know, Luka or some of that, which I don't think that would work very well. But, I mean, even then, like, there's not very many people in the league that are better than Anthony Davis. Right? Now, like, maybe he goes, like, if he went to, like, Denver, sure. If he went to, like, maybe Philly, because they could free up a bunch of cap space, right? Him and Embiid, if you want to make that argument, sure. But they're not the level of defense that Anthony Davis is. So Giannis wouldn't have to be the only sole defensive guy. Literally, the two best defensive players in the entire league are Giannis and Anthony Davis. And their numbers are almost identical. Like, it's crazy. It's uncanny. Anthony Davis would just be thanking his lucky stars for Giannis, because Anthony Davis wouldn't have to do everything on the defensive end for the Lakers. And Giannis wouldn't have to do everything on the defensive end like he does for the Bucks. It would be a match made in heaven for the two of them. Anthony Davis would have to buy in to play in the center, but maybe Giannis would. Maybe Giannis would be okay. Like, say, hey, like, whatever I got to do, whatever we got to do to win. Right? Like, and that would probably make more sense because Anthony Davis could spread the floor better. Right? Believe me, they would work it out. They would figure it out. And I just, like, everything matches up seamlessly. Again, who is a better player, realistically, that Giannis could go play with and still maintain contention status? Because that's the big thing too. Right? Like, there are other teams that could absolutely go trade for him, right? And maybe work out some type of deal to go get him. But what does the roster look like after that? Right? Like, that's a big thing, right? Like, if Denver wanted to go and trade for him, because they're not going to be able to sign him, they're not going to have the cap space, right? So, like, what does their roster, like, the Lakers literally would be in a position to go and just sign Giannis and bring him with the same roster that we have right now. Like, it to me, it's a no-brainer. And the Lakers are absolutely going to position themselves to go and acquire Giannis. They're going to do everything in their power to get that in order for that to happen. So expect that. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Think it's a no-brainer? Do you think, like, yeah, definitely, do you think the Lakers should wait for him? Do you think that no, like, if later on down the road at some point you could trade for him, whatever. But it's like, the thing is, like, who else makes that much? If you have an opportunity to swap LeBron for Giannis, you do it. And it's not like the Lakers are going to have a ton of other options right now. But the reason I think that it's important to talk about right now is because I don't expect the Lakers to do anything that could potentially jeopardize getting Giannis. I don't. So keep those things in mind. But anyway, love to your thoughts and opinions down in the comments.